Okay, welcome to Ear Shifter. He's Rene Rouleau.
And he's Sean Capstick.
And we're here to talk about Jim Carroll, one of my favorites who influenced me when I was a kid and continues to influence me to this day.
Awesome. But can I just say something like right off the top?
Okay.
I am psyched about this podcast, and I'll tell you why. I listened to not one, not two, but 3 episodes of Smartless. And it was awesome.
And you're comparing us to Smartless?
We are basically Smartless for indie music, minus 3 famous people and funniness.
Okay. That's a big thing to keep up with. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we're really close to Smartless. Like we're basically close to the number of listeners, close to the fame. We're minus a person. That's probably the only difference.
Well, if we could get another friend who likes music, then maybe we're onto something.
Yeah.
But until then, it's just you and I nattering on.
That's right. Exactly. Giving our opinions and introducing people to new music, and also diving deep on bands that maybe people like and want to learn more about. And that's what this podcast is all about.
Okay, so let me talk about Jim Carroll a little bit. Why is Jim Carroll important to me? Well, he was there right from the beginning. He was in the factory. He wrote films and wrote poetry. He met Jack Kerouac and William S. Burroughs when he was like 15 and was hanging out with them.
So hold up. So those are big players in my books. Like William S. Burroughs, I remember reading Naked Lunch on the subway. And I remember I actually like audibly grimaced when I read some excerpt. I can't remember the excerpt exactly, but I just remember in the subway by myself reading Naked Lunch and just going, because it was so disgusting and horrifying. So William S. Burroughs is brilliant in my books. Jack Kerouac, On the Road, come on, amazing. Introduced me to the Doors. Introduced me to the Doors, by the way, and I love the Doors to this day. So those are 2 very reputable names for sure. Going back, so factory meaning Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol,
I'm assuming.
He grew up in New York City. And I'll talk a little bit about his background, but he was there with Lou Reed.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, Lou Reed had some infamy. His first band, maybe you've heard of them, the Velvet Underground. In their last record, the last time they played at Max's Kansas City, and Jim Carroll held the microphone to do the bootleg recording that would later be released as live at Max's Kansas City. So let's hear that little excerpt of the banter in between. It's a really high quality bootleg.
Oh yeah, I wrote it, but it's pretty new. Yeah. Did you get the piano? Oh, you have to go to the downstairs floor.
Okay, so that is the outro to Sweet Jane, which was a new song at that time. And he's asking for a Pernod drink. So he was there. He was, hanging out at Max's Kansas City. So he was a writer before he was a rock and roller. And he wrote a book called The Basketball Diaries. And it changed the way that I read books. And he also wrote a number of poetry books.
How did it change the way that you read books?
Because it was written as a diary. It was not a narrative. Didn't have a conventional structure. And it was about growing up as a street hustler, a rent boy in New York City, and how he started to use heroin and play basketball at an Ivy League prep school. So it was quite an influential book. And then his second book, Forced Entries, was about growing up a little bit further when he was ensconced in the scene and when he was dating Patti Smith and living at the, what's the hotel in New York?
Chelsea?
The Chelsea Hotel.
Which I've had drinks at, which is pretty awesome. But wait, let's go back because, one thing, I did see the movie, Basketball Diaries. I'm not a big reader. I'm more of a movie watcher. And I remember liking the movie. I can't remember who was in it. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder on this.
That's one of my conflicts.
Oh, all right. Well, do you want to do it now or you want to come back to it?
let's come back to it.
Okay. So what I want to say is I remember liking the Basketball Diaries. For homework, I tried to find Basketball Diaries. I thought I had the DVD actually, and I didn't. And I don't anymore anyway. And so I couldn't find it. I really wanted to watch it before this episode, but no luck. It was hard to find.
It's impossible. I think.
Really?
Yeah,
That
lawsuits
sucks.
have prevented that distribution.
Wow. That's
So,
bullshit.
okay, so one of my conflicts, I'll go plus benefits. So Leonard DiCaprio, a very young Leonard DiCaprio, played Jim Carroll in Basketball Diaries, and not in the book. It was made up by the director, Leonard DiCaprio.
Leonardo. I believe his name's Leonardo.
Lenny to his friends.
Okay.
He dreams of wearing a long trench coat, walking into school and shooting his classmates. I mean,
Whoa.
and that was before Columbine. So the movie was sued by the parents, and Jim Carroll actually spent a fair bit of time trying not to talk about it because it wasn't in the Basketball Diaries. And he kept asking about, are you responsible for all this teen violence now based on your lifestyle? So, so that's a bit of a conflict.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember the name of the director? I'm just curious.
No.
No, okay. Interesting. Yeah, okay. That seems reasonable in terms of him like not wanting to talk about that. Something that wasn't in his goddamn book, and the typical freaking directors in Hollywood, eh? God damn them.
Now, another movie that I am pleased that he was in was called Tough Turf, and that starred James Spader and Robert Downey Jr.
Ooh, that's a nice combo.
Yeah.
Damn. I've never even heard of that movie.
It's very dated, but
Is it good? Did you see it?
only in my memory. Like I didn't research that movie. I didn't even check to see if that was online, but I was going to try to watch the Basketball Diaries and I couldn't find it.
Man, that sucks. Okay, so Tough Turf is it based on a novel of his or?
No, it's a James Spader, Robert Downey Jr. vehicle. They're in high school, and the parts that I remember about the high school dance, because Jim Carroll is the band for the high school dance.
Of course.
Yeah,
Because he's so punk rock?
Because he's so punk rock.
Yeah,
And that's the school that I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
So Carroll also read an original poem in the middle of a Rancid song that contributed to the album title Here Come the Wolves, right? And if you remember, this is the only, maybe not the only, but this is the good Rancid album with Time Bomb and Rudy Soho. You remember when they came out?
I'm not a big Rancid fan.
Neither am I, but those are good pop, punk, ska tunes. Those are really good.
And Jim Carroll, you're saying, influenced those two songs.
He, I guess they were fans as well. And so they sought him out to read a poem in the middle of one of their songs.
Oh, okay. And recorded it.
And
like,
recorded
properly.
it. Yeah, it's on the Here Come the Wolves album. I think it's called Junkie Man.
Okay. Well, an appropriate name.
And, he also released songs with Eddie Vedder. The Basketball Diaries soundtrack has Eddie Vedder on there.
Shout out to my wife, her favorite artist of all time.
He was there. He was hanging out with them. He also worked with Sonic Youth, Keith Richards, Richard Hell, Marianne Faithfull. So, he's influenced. He won a award from one of the churches in New York City, one of the multi-denominational churches that he shares with Bill Clinton as promoting interfaith and religion, spirituality. And, when he was alive, he could just stand still and be cool.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I don't doubt that. Does that mean that he was religious?
He was very religious. He was brought up as a Catholic. The award, if we want to research, it was from the Interfaith Center of New York. It's a nonprofit organization that connects religious leaders in the communities with civil rights. And he won an award.
So hold on. He was a Catholic?
He was a Catholic. His first album is called Catholic Boy.
I know that, but I thought it was tongue in cheek.
His spirituality has been strong throughout his entire career, but is questioning his spirituality.
Yeah.
Again, influential to me that not being spiritual, but not having an organized faith, the way he approached Catholicism and quotes all of the sacraments in one of his songs. I learned what extreme unction is, as well as the other sacraments, from the song Catholic Boy on the first album, and it maintains that and discuss that.
So I'm just genuinely trying to imagine him in the factory as a Catholic. Like, that kind of blows my mind.
Well, like, do you remember the Basketball Diary? So it starts out, so he is in a Catholic prep school playing basketball, raised by Catholic parents, and he decides that he's going to try heroin, and heroin helps him write his poetry and doesn't interfere with his basketball game. But in order to get heroin, he has to become a male prostitute. And so his mom gets really mad at that and kicks him out.
You think?
Again, the whole, maybe he's got a little bit mad about Catholicism. And so that was features in his poetry and in the music.
Right. So, so many questions, Sean, so many questions. So, one, I'm sorry, did he just jump to heroin? Do we know this? Or was there gateway drugs at least going to heroin? Or did he just go full on, go straight to it? Do we know? We probably don't know.
So he did experiment with drugs.
Okay.
And he settled on heroin because
it helped him write.
It helped him write. And it gave him, when he was nodding, as he refers to it gave him a clarity that allowed him to write. So it was complementary.
Yeah.
And he became clean in the early 70s, and spent a lot of time talking about it.
Early 70s?
Because, so he was a junkie for probably around, 6 years, right? When he was 14 to when he was 20.
Jesus.
And then he ended up going to California and getting clean and meeting his first wife.
Right.
But this is, after he wrote the Basketball Diaries at age 16, right?
That's insane.
So, he was a prodigy. And then, in his 20s, he was living with Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe. So
in New York.
In New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hanging out in that scene.
And so a couple things. So how the fuck do you play basketball on heroin? That's insane to me, because heroin is a downer, as I understand it. And how on earth would you find the energy to play basketball?
So one of my other favorite bands, who happened to be a junkie, described it as heroin was a very calming drug, just for the down, but also because of the routine. So if you are in a routine, you feel great, you don't get withdrawals. And if you're a functioning junkie, then it's a maintaining a level. So he probably played basketball and then would have to score. So
right.
I don't know. Yes.
Right. No. I think you actually answered the question, because there are functioning weed smokers that smoke in the morning and go through the day and they're fine. So I think the same might be applied to heroin. And kids, don't try that at home. No. Heroin, bad. But I think what you're saying is he built up a tolerance, and at that point, he's just a functioning junkie that needs his fix in order to just function.
But he did get clean to focus on his writing. He said that he wanted to be a serious poet, and he couldn't do it in New York. So he moved to California. So the story goes that when he was 28, Patti Smith was touring with her band. She came to California, and she got in a fight with her opening act. And so she said, Jim, just come out and read poetry, and my band will back you up. He appeared on the stage. She introduced him as the guy who taught me how to write poetry. He rapped, ranted his lyrics, and then he got into rock and roll.
Huh. That's pretty wild. I mean, we saw Patti Smith, Sean.
And wasn't she cool?
She is cool. Not my number one favorite artist in the world musically, but mega respect in terms of who she is, the godmother of punk, all that stuff. And she was fun. She was engaging live. And also, let's go back to, so Robert Mapplethorpe, Jim Carroll, and Patti Smith lived in the same apartment in New York. Wow, that's pretty crazy too.
He was there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay,
So,
sorry.
Patti Smith, rock and roll. This is where we get to the ear shifter part.
Okay.
So, I remember how I got introduced to Jim Carroll.
Okay.
So, remember the show Fridays?
No, I do not.
ABC's answer to Saturday Night Live. It was the exact same show, but on Friday night.
No. Sounds horrible.
It was great. Melanie Chartoff was one of the comedians, and the guy who would eventually play Kramer. What's his name in real life?
Kelsey Grammer?
No, not Kramer. Kramer on Seinfeld.
Oh, Kramer on Saturday. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
So he was
Richards.
one of the.
I think his last name is Richards.
He was one of the comedians, and they would have a artist, much like Saturday Night Live, and I recall Jim Carroll playing, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I probably went out to Vortex Records the next day or that week when I did my weekly trip to Vortex to get used records, and I probably bought Catholic Boy.
Nice.
And so that started the getting into Jim Carroll. So
Right.
he released, I don't know, three main records, three records that were really important to me. There was Catholic Boy that came out in 1980, which has been referred to as the last great punk album by a number of people. Dry Dreams that came out in 82 that had a little bit softer, more poetry. And then I Write Your Name in 1984 that really steered into the kind of new wave thing that was happening at that time in the mid 80s. So let's hear off the first album, I Want the Angel, again, going back to his Catholic faith.
All the numbers reduced to zero, and those who die young, they're my heroes. They are my heroes. They took the walk where the heart makes sense and the mind can't talk. And I want the angel whose child don't weep. She got dreams designed for eternal sleep. I want the angel that will not change into a four-legged monster in love with the strange.
So that's pretty representative of that first album. Lyrically driven, of course, that's why I like him, and very controversial in terms of some of the lyrics about wanting to be a blind man because all the women would be faceless. They would be like undeveloped film.
Whoa.
So, the Catholic Boy, it starts, I was born in a pool, they made my mother stand, and talks then about how he made comrades in heaven, he made allies in hell. So, pretty good to me. It made me, I can, if I had to have a record that I know all the lyrics to at one point, this would be one of those.
Whoa.
That, of the 8 songs, they're all bangers, as you say, and I can sing them all in my head as the music's playing.
Wow. Okay. So this is where we're going to kind of disagree because I tried, man. I tried. I do like this song, I Want the Angel. I would never listen to it on my own, like ever. But I didn't find it. It didn't grab me. And so Renee's all about the feels and Sean's all about the lyrics and words, which there's irony on top of irony on that because our backgrounds are, I studied English and Sean, you studied
Engineering.
Yeah. So there is some irony there for sure. But I appreciate the lyrics. I really do. But musically, it just doesn't grab me.
Okay, so let's hear the next song off Dry Dreams, Sweet Jane. So when we heard that little introduction on the Velvet Underground, that was the outro to Sweet Jane, which was a new song at the time, offloaded, arguably, I think one of Lou's best songs. Some people say that it's after John Cale, so it's not a good Velvet Underground song. I think the feel of Sweet Jane is so beautiful, and the number of people that covered it is just wonderful, from the Cowboy Junkies to, now I can't think of all of the people who covered
but it's
them,
insane.
But it's
Yeah,
insane,
it's insane.
and that's an amazing song. So hear the feel on this one.
All right, let's do that. But before we do, actually, I just want to say Velvet Underground, love the Velvet Underground, but this Sweet Jane was not one of my favorite songs either. Like, it really wasn't. Like, Heroin, ironically, because there seems to be a heroin thread in this podcast today. But Heroin's one of my favorites of all time. Sweet Jane was fine, but I'd never go out of my way to listen to it. It just didn't really grab me feels-wise. Renee can hide behind feels all he likes. All right, let's give a listen.
Those were different times. I told poets they studied rules of verse, and the ladies they roll their eyes. Sweet Jane, Sweet Jane, Sweet Jane. Jackie is a banker.
I could just listen to that high falsetto all day long.
And I have to say, like, I like that he kind of did his own little thing on that song, which I always appreciate. There's nothing worse for me than hearing a cover of a song that sounds exactly like the original. Like, what is the point of that? I'll just listen to the original. Whereas that, at least he gave his own little take on it in terms of the louder vocals, etc. So I did appreciate that in that sense. But still, the song is like, it's okay. People are going to hate me.
Well, okay, then maybe I'll get you with the last one on Dry Dreams, right? So this one's Lorraine. So again, the Lou connection wasn't that far ever. The first time that I saw Jim Carroll, he did primarily spoken word, and then the second time, I can't remember what band, it might have been the Lost Dakotas that backed up him, and he did rock and roll.
Hold on. You saw Jim Carroll?
I saw Jim Carroll.
You saw Jim Carroll?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Whoa, my voice went up there. That's really cool. Wow. Where? Do you remember? No.
I can't. It was in a darkened club
In Toronto somewhere.
Toronto somewhere.
Yeah.
It
okay.
wasn't one of the lasting ones.
Wow.
It was in the basement, and he came out and he read poetry, and
Was he
just like,
clean at that time?
Yeah,
Do you know?
Yeah. This was been the 80s, so yeah, he had
And
been sober
how many
for a
people
little
were?
while. It was packed. It
was packed?
Yeah. The basement was packed.
100 people, 500.
200.
200,
a
yeah.
small club, and
Yeah.
he read poetry. And then the
Did you see
year
him twice?
back that, I saw him twice. And the year that he came back, I didn't see him, and I don't know why. Probably because I was at school or something. He read poetry with Lou Reed, and that was like at Massey Hall or something.
Whoa.
So they just both read poetry. So.
Damn. That's very cool. That's very cool.
So this one, Lorraine, is a song off the first Lou Reed album, Lou Reed. And we talked of Lorraine, and here's Jim's take on that. And Lorraine is speaking with another heroine from Lou Reed's songs.
So before we listen to that, just so I'm clear, this is an answer to Lou Reed's song? Jim Carroll's answer to Lou Reed's song? Or is it a cover of Lou Reed's song? Or
It is a retelling of the same characters.
Okay. All right. Let's give a listen.
You know, his wings, they were kind of shattered. He plays with broken mirrors. He says he just saw Sally, and that Sally was with Lorraine. And they were playing in the alley. So I went around to see them. Oh, they were doing it together. And there was a little blood on the concrete.
So there's Lorraine, who's a wild child, and Sally, who is Sally who can't dance no more. And he's got an angel in that song as well. So those are those records, right? And so those were the early 90s. As part of this, it's funny.
Early 90s?
Sorry, the early 80s.
Okay.
And there was an article in Penthouse of all magazines.
I've heard of it.
Yes. And probably it was from 1981, which is probably my biggest year of fascination about Penthouse. And it talks...
But it was for the articles,
for the
right?
articles like
And
this.
the
yes,
Penthouse
yeah,
Forum,
yeah,
maybe?
Yeah. And
reading.
just mostly the music articles. You know. So there, he's clean, and he talks about heroin and how heroin is becoming popular. And, I think this shows how far removed, I was from that world, but I can still enjoy it viscerally, right? So, that he was reading poetry in the 80s. I've got his book, and, I kind of drifted away, or at least, he became less important in terms of new things. And then the Basketball Diaries came out. And then he
The movie, you mean?
The movie, yeah. And so there was another interest in him, and he was recording with Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, as I said, PJ Harvey, the Posies Flea. They all record his songs as part of the soundtrack. And then he started releasing spoken word albums. So I remember being at the radio station and playing some of these spoken words. And I was like, okay, I really like this spoken words. So that was in the early 90s. And then by 98, he released an album called Pools of Mercury. And again, a little bit of fame for him. The last song, and this is Lenny Kaye, who produced this one, who's in Patti Smith's band. So he released, it was called 8 Fragments for Kurt Cobain. So he's recording a poem about Kurt and Nirvana and his suicide, and it's very poignant. I think
Wow.
it's not really something to excerpt from, but it is a ambient background music where he is more than just speaking over the ambient music. The ambient music is reinforcing what he's saying, and it's a little bit of moving piece about how special a person Kurt was.
Interesting. So it's like an homage, but something like that. And also, so I'm probably spoiling this, but when did he die? Was it the 90s or?
So he died in 2009.
2009. Okay. So he was clean for a long
He was clean
time.
for a long time.
Also find it interesting that even so he was clean, and obviously Lou Reed, also a junkie for quite some time, as I understand it. I don't know if they were junkies together at the time, but he seems to still kind of gravitate towards, because Kurt Cobain was a junkie as well, towards that, I don't know, for lack of a better term, darker side or the addiction side. Even so he's not addicted anymore, he's still hanging with people or, honoring people that are of that ilk.
So I think it gets back to that spirituality. So I think he was trying to marry the sacred and the profane. And again, don't do it at home, kids. I don't know. I think that a lot of people who were heroin users see that crossing over as part of that drug experience.
Right.
So he died writing a novel. It's called The Petting Zoo.
I saw that on his site. Yeah.
And so it's wild ranging, but it at its heart is the raven from Noah's Ark, who speaks to an artist about his lack of or losing spirituality and how that compromises him as an artist. He died back in New York, close to where he grew up.
Was he still in a relationship with Patti Smith or no? Long gone.
Long gone. I think
Long
they
gone.
were friends. He married a woman who was an entertainment lawyer who eventually became his manager. They divorced amicably. He had another marriage, and then he died alone.
No kids.
No kids.
No kids. I got kind of a hard question here. So based on your own observations and your own experience with Jim Carroll, do you feel he was a better writer when he was on heroin versus when he was off heroin?
So I'd have to say off, because those songs that he recorded were all, after he got clean. The Basketball Diaries was, when he was in the midst of heroin and forced entries. I gave my copy of Basketball Diaries away. Don't know where it is right now. They're not in print. So I couldn't find that to reread it. I have my Book of Nods that was a poetry book that was after he got clean. And so Did he have his greatest influence? You always have your greatest influence when you're younger.
I think that's a great comment, actually, because we all, in our youth, teenagers up to maybe 25, we're all kind of exploring, and we're at our most visceral, for lack of a better term. We haven't been, we're not full adults yet. And we're still trying to figure out the world, a bit like Holden Caulfield was, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a fair answer. But I have another very important question for you. And that is, why the hell did you not put my favorite and almost only song that I really like of his, People Who Died? Why the hell is that not on your list?
Is that not expected from me, that I just want to be different and
like
difficult?
Irreverent and just super cool because I'm not going to play his popular song? Is that what's going on?
Why do you play These Are People Who Died?
We're going to play it. We're going to play it for Renee. That's what we're going to do.
In front of a subway train, Eddie got slit in the jugular vein. And Eddie, I miss you more than all the others. And I salute you, brother. Those are people who died, died. 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 All of my friends are waiting to die.
Okay, so that's People Who Died. And it is a great song. And it is, like a lot of artists, part of their recycling of names, thoughts, emotions. So all of those people are real people. They were his friends. They are people in Basketball Diaries who died. They are his friends who, he's celebrating. So some people say it's a morbid song. Some people say it's, it's something that doesn't celebrate life, but I think it's very much about celebrating life. And even in his book, The Petting Zoo, you could see those same people, those same characters that are still in New York City. He never left New York City. And, we're part of that existence that he grew up in and lived in and died in.
It's kind of crazy because if you listen to the song, there's quite a few people in his life that have died. And I imagine some of them are from heroin overdoses. I imagine some are other things. Who knows? Or do we know?
Bobby got leukemia, 14 years old.
There you
he
go.
Looks like 65 when he died.
So
he was
we do
a friend
know.
of Jim's.
So we do know. Yes. I haven't listened to the song as much as you, obviously. But so he actually does go through how they all died. That's kind of crazy. Wow. That's nuts. Okay. So you talked about spoken word, which I find fascinating. Like, I can't imagine you on he used to be a radio DJ at his University of Waterloo, shout out, in Ontario, near Toronto. And I can't imagine you playing spoken word on this college radio, which I think is just radical and good on you. Do you have a favorite piece of his work or poem or something? Or
so, yes, the poem that comes to mind, it's a simpler one. It's a haiku, but it's not in the form of a haiku, I guess. And one of the reasons that it's my favorite is, so I was in New York City. It was after 9/11. They were promoting, it was Canada Loves New York. It was to promote tourism in New York. And so I went down with my family, and my brother-in-law and I went out for we said, okay, we're going out for a drink. So we walk by Max's Kansas City. It's still there. And I'm like, Max's Kansas City, let's go in. So I get to the door, there's a cover charge, and the woman took pity on us, didn't get us to pay the $20, $50, and said, it's not what you want. Don't come here. Keep it in your brain. So I'm like, thank you. So then we walk to Hell's Kitchen and go to this, darkened bar. It's pretty empty. We walk in, and then the matron of the bar, because again, New York didn't have any tourists. We were in a non-touristy area. She comes over and she says, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I came from Canada to support New York. I'm out for a drink. Why? She goes, anybody who comes in here has to recite a poem. So I recite, sure, I got a syringe. I use it to baste my tiny turkey, which is one of Jim Carroll's poems on a book of nods. And I recited it like that. And she looked at me and then she left me alone. And then the bouncer came over and he goes, "What did you say to her? Normally she kicks people out of the bar if she doesn't know them." So Jim Carroll got me out of a...
That's pretty cool.
Got me free drinks in New York.
Free? Oh, you got free drinks?
Oh, after her going away and not kicking us out and hassling us, the bartender just said, "Here, have a beer."
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah,
that's pretty good.
So, yeah, Jim's important, New York.
Yeah.
So, when we were at Patti Smith, she came out and read a poem. You knew the book before she came out and said anything.
Right. Was that The Howl?
Yes.
Yeah, Allen Ginsberg. Yeah, it's the only poetry book I ever owned. Yes.
So, why do you not like lyrics?
It's not that I don't like lyrics. I do like lyrics. I just don't pay attention to them as much as you do, and many others, not just you. I'm not picking on you, Sean. I love you, buddy. But I think it's like I pay attention to the feeling first and the lyrics might come after. I mean, with The Clash, I can't quote lyrics from The Clash necessarily, but I know what they stood for. I know what each song kind of meant. I'm so bored with the USA, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't quote the lyrics like verbatim. But I know the feeling, I know what they meant to say, but I'm just not as good at like remembering lyrics like you are. And as for Allen Ginsberg, it goes right back to the beginning of this podcast, dude, where we talked about Jack Kerouac, and that's how I got into Allen Ginsberg and The Doors and Ken Kesey and all those guys. By the way, this one kind of feels like there's a bit of a drug theme going on. So what drugs have you done? I don't know, to be honest. Zero?
Well, I got paranoid in your basement, and then we stopped smoking dope.
Because we
that was
got
about
high.
it.
That's right. That was it?
Yeah, that's all the
Okay.
drugs I've done.
Okay.
So, have I convinced you? Is he an ear shifter band?
Is he an ear shifter band? Okay. I would say that in the greater scheme of things, given his influence and given who he's been with and hung out with, and who obviously they respected him too, I would have to give it to you that Jim Carroll Band is an ear shifter band. They're just not my ear shifter band, but I think they are an ear shifter band. Yes.
Okay. Well, I agree. He was very important to me.
Yes.
And so on his first album, he sings a song. Is it Nothing Is True? No, It's Too Late. Nothing Is True. It has the lines of, "Until they perfect the techniques to clone, y'all better remember you're all alone." But on It's Too Late, to fall in love with Sharon Tate, but it's too soon to ask me for the words I want carved on my tomb. That was one of the songs on Fridays. So he's buried in St. Peter Cemetery in Havershaw, Rockland County, New York, just up the Hudson River from Manhattan, where he grew up. And maybe someday I'll find out what's written on his gravestone. So until then, I still have his records. And I would say, to quote the Catholic boy thing, put your tongue to the rail whenever you can.
Don't put your tongue to the rail.
Put your
tongue to the rail whenever you can.
Whenever you can.
Interesting.
Redeemed through pain, not through joy.
Wow. So do you think you will go to New York and visit his tombstone?
If I had endless time.
You might at some point.
To find out what's written there.
Drag your wife there?
I think she'd stay in the city. Maybe if I ride my motorcycle to New York, I come down the Hudson River and can do that.
That'd be pretty cool. Okay, so let's get to the Spotify results. Every year, Spotify does their thing. I want to talk a little bit about this year. I can't remember my number of hours listening, but I know I'm in the top 2% worldwide in terms of Spotify listeners, which is awesome. But here's the embarrassing part. My top 5 songs are all, and sorry, Brian Eno and Harold Budd, you guys are awesome, obviously, because I listen to you so much. But those are my top 5 songs. All 5 are not songs. They're ambient music by Harold Budd and Brian Eno. So kind of a weird flex, if you will. Humble brag, top 2%, awesome. Top 5 songs, maybe not as great.
Again, his hate on lyrics.
I don't hate lyrics.
Your favorite songs are ambient.
Yeah, all my favorite songs are ambient. It's kind of effed up. So that's me, Sean, in a nutshell. Kind of a weird flex and a humble brag. What do you got?
So I am definitely not I think I'm in the top quartile of Spotify listeners because I don't get control of the Spotify in my house. I am in the top percentages of a few of the bands that we saw this summer. And my Wrapped, I think, is so biased. I'm a little bit against the thing because I binge listened that Boy Genius album, and that is all of my favorite songs. Supposedly that's the only thing I listen to, which I know I listen to more.
Bullshit. A great album, though, but that's bullshit.
And for a little bit of time in the early summer, the late spring, early summer, that's what I was just listening to. So
Pitchfork has
take
it up there.
what it is to give you. Spotify gives you what it is or what it's not. But it's supposed to. I heard that it stops in October, so it's not really your whole year.
The tracking.
Yeah, the tracking.
The tracking stops in October.
So
early.
Doesn't say what I'm listening to now.
Yeah, fair enough. That Boy Genius record or album, I'm pretty sure it's in Pitchfork's top 50 albums of the year.
I would agree.
I would agree too. Shout out to Pitchfork. Okay, cool. So then let's talk about what we've been listening to lately. Honest talk, besides my obvious ambient music, I just put together a Led Zeppelin playlist. I don't know what. Oh, I know. I watched a rockumentary, if you will, on Led Zeppelin. It's probably my third one that I've watched, and it just kind of inspired me to put together a little Led Zeppelin playlist. And the Led Zeppelin playlist name is Get the Lead Out, which I think is a pretty good name. And Tom Waits. Oddly enough, Tom Waits. I kind of rediscovered Tom Waits. That's probably me in a nutshell.
So I've been listening to the songs that I am going to go see in rock shows. That seems to be my listening thing. So I just came back from a Wilco festival. So
in Mexico.
And so I listened to a lot of Wilco, and it did kind of renew my faith in Wilco. I'm glad they love me.
You're glad they love you.
Yes.
Okay. And they've told you that? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, like you thought it was directed to you specifically when he goes, "We love you."
Exactly.
Oh, that's a good way to take it. I'm gonna do that from now on too. Anything else besides Wilco? What were the other bands there?
Wakahachi.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Which was totally cool. And then her partner, Kevin Morby, was there.
Oh, did he play?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. How was he?
Not as good as Wakahachi.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, he didn't have that same darkened mood. It's hard to be dark in Mexico when it's a beautiful
sunny
nice
day.
Night.
Kevin Morby by day. Is that what you heard?
He was the opener. It was 7:00. Okay. The sun was down, but it was still pretty much beach.
Did he play
festival.
Sundowner?
I don't know. He played This Is a Photograph. He played a lot of his songs. He did the duet with Wakahachi. It was nice. But you know who was the standout artist to that? Lucinda Williams.
Huh.
So Lucinda's had a stroke, had a whole bunch of health issues. She came out. She almost gave up. Her handler had to come back and refocus her to actually focus on the music and play. And then she rocked it. And she released she still got a new album out, and she played songs off her new album, which, again, going back to Lou Reed, because we always go back to Lou Reed, is a ripoff of Rock and Roll Heart. She just basically readjusted the lyrics to Rock and Roll Heart, which was great. And then she played her hits, and it was wonderful.
So are you a fan of Lucinda Williams?
Oh, love Lucinda.
Oh, I am embarrassed to say I've never listened to her. So I'm going to give her a listen after this podcast, or at least before the next podcast. That's my homework. I'm kind of into it.
Maybe she'll come up on one of these shows.
Oh, I see. Maybe I don't have to listen to her then. I can just wait for that show. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that about wraps it up, Sean. What do you think?
So what are we going to hear next time?
Oh, next time I'm going to bring a band from Modesto, California. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ear Shifter. Tune in next time where we'll cover another band that deserves more. You can find Ear Shifter on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Friend us or listen to our playlists on Spotify and visit earshifter.com for more information. Special thanks go to our logo designer, Stuart Thursby, and our intro-outro music by Joe Novak. You can find him as Bye Bye Badman, one word, on SoundCloud. And a big shout out to Joe for being our awesome sound engineer / editor. Until next time.